There was my Snowblower, chained to a stake in front of the HOA office like a stolen bike, a neon orange violation tag flapping in the wind for everyone to see. And my very first thought was, well, someone must have finally lost their damn mind. Or maybe it was me. Who knows anymore? Name's Xavier Thornton, and for 6 years now, I've called Meadowbrook Estates in Neepville, Illinois home. That's 6 years of matching houses, perfectly edged lawns even in February, and more rules about mailbox paint and holiday decorations than any place has a right to. Moved here because it was close to the plant where I work, and I'll admit, back then the HOA felt like just another cost of living, something to tune out, not lose sleep over. But on this morning, early February, cold enough to freeze the hair in your nose, 14 inches of snow buried the whole place. Like clockwork, I was up at 4:30 a.m. Not for fun. For the past 3 years, my real winter wake-up call was a job nobody asked me to do. Clearing the snow for Fire Station 47, the one just outside our subdivision. That station is the lifeline for this neighborhood and 4 others, 2 engines, a ladder, 1 small ambulance. If that driveway gets blocked by snow, it's not just inconvenience. That's response time lost. That's lives on the line. Funny thing, this whole routine started by accident. One morning after a big storm, I was out there with my old Toro when I spotted the guys at the station, shoveling desperately. Plow truck dead, snow piling up. I had the heavy-duty machine, so I helped. Captain Mike Reynolds tried to pay me, but my old man was a volunteer firefighter, and I know those budgets, so we just shook on it. I'd handle their snow, they'd keep an eye on my house, help out with the odd job. Worked out well. The neighborhood got faster emergency help, and I had peace of mind. No fuss, no fanfare. I probably cleared that driveway 40 times, never made a big deal about it. Never expected a problem. But apparently, someone else did. That morning, standing in my driveway, looking at my Snowblower chained up and impounded by the HOA, I couldn't help but laugh a little, like, really? The violation notice was official, stamped with our HOA's logo. Excessive noise during quiet hours. Equipment impounded pending review. Hearing on February 20th. Signed, Big as Life, by Helen Cartwright, president of the HOA. Now, if there's ever been a villain in a story like this, it's Helen. She moved in about a year and a half ago, big house on Oakmont, athleisure outfits that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage. She's the kind of person who sees rules as both sword and shield. Within 6 months, she was president, basically because nobody else wanted the job enough to fight her for it. At first, folks were relieved. Finally, someone else to manage the mailboxes and the meetings. That relief did not last. Helen ran the HOA like it was a Fortune 500 company, and she was CEO. New rules, higher dues, violation notices for every little thing. Trash can out too early? $50. Christmas lights still up on January 2nd? Another fine. She drove around in her white BMW, camera in hand, patrolling the streets at dawn, taking notes. I stayed off her radar until the Snowblower. I called up Captain Mike at the fire station to explain. He sounded exhausted. The plow was still dead. The crew needed that driveway clear before shift change. But my equipment was now locked up by Helen's decree. Mike offered to come talk to the HOA, but I figured I'd try myself first. So, before sunrise, I headed across the street to Helen's house. Her official HOA office, lights already blazing. She answered the door in yoga pants and a crisp sweater, arms folded, like she'd been waiting to catch me. I told her I needed my Snowblower back. She said her job was to maintain the quality of life in the community. Noise is noise, rules are rules. Try to make her see reason. Explained I was clearing the fire station for emergencies. She said, that's very civic-minded of you, but it doesn't exempt you from the bylaws. Suggested I get an electric Snowblower or wait until 6. I said waiting could mean fire trucks delayed in a crisis. She just shrugged. Rules are rules. Asking who complained got me nowhere. That's confidential. But come on, who else is up at 5 in the morning taking notes? She insisted the equipment would stay chained up until my hearing and warned me not to take it, or she'd call the police. Said it was all in the bylaws. Slammed the door. That got me fired up. I took pictures of my Snowblower and chains. If this was going to court, I wanted records. By lunch, I was sitting in my truck at work, flipping through the HOA bylaws I hadn't looked at since I moved in. Sure enough, gasoline snowblowers are no-go before 6 a.m. But there's a carve-out for emergency and essential services. Even better, the HOA can't seize property without a hearing. Fines? Sure, but not confiscation. So Helen had overstepped, counting on nobody reading the fine print. That night, I stopped by the fire station and told Mike what I'd found. He grinned, said he could get me an official letter from the fire chief backing up how important my snow removal was for public safety. And the next morning, there it was. On official letterhead, signed, bulletproof. That fired me up. I started asking around, and sure enough, neighbors had stories. Helen had gone wild with the violations. Over 206 months, in a neighborhood of 80 houses. Trash cans, Christmas lights, lawn gnomes. She even fined a family $3,000 because their kid forgot the bins a couple times. People were angry, but figured it was easier to pay and avoid the fight. I figured it was time for the fight. Started a petition for an emergency HOA board meeting. Needed 5 signatures, got 15. People were ready. At that meeting, the place was packed, standing room only. I laid out my case, the fire chief's letter, the bylaw violations, the pattern of overreach. The board members looked shocked. Most hadn't realized how far things had gone. They suspended all enforcement actions for review. Helen, red-faced, stormed out. Next morning, every tire on my truck was slashed. Insurance, cops, the whole bit. Couldn't prove it was Helen, but the timing was perfect. Borrowed a car from my lawyer friend Daniel, doubled down on the review. We went through Helen's notices, found violations for things not even covered by the rules, sometimes for things that weren't even true. Fake photos, triple fines, petty stuff, but it added up. Helen didn't back down. Instead, she filed a complaint with the city, trying to get me banned from helping the fire station. Called it a public nuisance. At this point, it was clear she was losing her grip. The hearing for my violation became a full-blown trial on Helen's leadership. The board, led by Rebecca Ford, nurse, no nonsense, read the fire chief's letter, reviewed the evidence, and dropped the violation. Then they opened a review of all Helen's enforcement actions. She resigned, spitting venom, promising this isn't over. And it wasn't. 2 days later, I was served with a lawsuit, defamation, harassment, emotional distress. Helen, reaching for any weapon left. Daniel handled it, said it was nonsense, but it still cost me time and sleep. Meanwhile, our audit found 300 improper violations, $75,000 in fines, doctored photos, the works. Special election came around. Rebecca won. First act, public apology to every resident. New oversight for the board. But Helen still wasn't done. A few weeks later, my house was broken into. Not robbed, just trashed. Obscenities spray-painted on the walls. Furniture overturned, but nothing stolen. Police traced it to Helen's brother, Connor, a guy with a rap sheet, the muscle for Helen's grudge. She'd asked him to scare me, given him my address, even set up an alibi for herself at yoga. The detective got his phone records, caught them both. Connor pled guilty. Helen went on trial for conspiracy. The jury didn't take long. Guilty, sentenced to 18 months, restitution for the damage. The news loved it. HOA president arrested in revenge plot. Property values dipped. But honestly, the neighborhood finally came together. People started talking, pitching in, watching out for each other, not just hiding from the next fine. Through it all, one thing became clear. Peace isn't something you get by following the rules to the letter. It's something you build together by standing up when you have to. It took one stubborn guy with a snowblower to spark it, but everyone was ready for a change. The lesson hit home for me. Sometimes you have to push back against the bullies. Doesn't matter if they're on the playground or running your HOA. You stand up, even if you're scared or tired, because if you don't, they just keep pushing. After everything, things got better. The board, now under Rebecca, focused on actual problems, real safety hazards, not garden gnomes or trash cans. The fire station sent a thank you letter, framed it in the community center. Holidays came and went. People decorated, left bins out a little too long, laughed about it instead of living in fear. It felt normal. Finally, funny thing, one afternoon, Helen's older sister, Patricia, showed up. She just wanted to say sorry. Explained Helen hadn't always been like this, that something broke after her divorce. Maybe that's true, but it doesn't change what happened or what it cost the neighborhood. Patricia just wanted me to know Helen used to be kind. I thanked her for coming by, and that was that. Sometimes at dawn, out with my Snowblower, I still think about Helen, about how easy it is for power to twist someone, how communities can fall apart if nobody's willing to push back. I don't hate her, not really, but I do believe in consequences. So, here's the thing. Where's the line? At what point does enforcing the rules turn into abuse? When is it right to fight back, and when is it just adding fuel to the fire? I'd love to hear what you think. Share your own stories, maybe about HOAs, or just standing up to someone with a little too much power. Let's talk about what justice really means and how far you'd go to protect the place you call home.
Cảm ơn tất cả các bạn đã xem video.